What if 3 years of pretending to love your cold boss ended with one crash that exposed every lie? Gavin Thompson gripped the steering wheel tighter as rain hammered the windshield of his old sedan. New York traffic blurred into streaks of red and white, but his mind was miles away, replaying the same question that had haunted him since the day he first walked into Caleb Harrington's office at Apex Dynamics. 3 years. 3 years of careful smiles, scripted dinners, and whispered, "I love you"s that started as pure survival and somehow twisted into something he could no longer name. The promotion had come fast after that first fake date at the company gala. Caleb, the Ice King CEO who never dated publicly, suddenly had a steady partner, and Gavin's salary doubled. No one questioned the convenient arrangement. Not the board, not the clients, not even Caleb himself. Yet tonight felt different. Caleb had been unusually quiet during their dinner in Tribeca, his steel blue eyes flicking over Gavin like he was measuring something unseen. "You seem distracted," Caleb had said in that low, measured voice that always made Gavin's stomach tighten. Gavin had laughed it off, the way he always did, but the lie sat heavier than usual. His phone buzzed in the cup holder, an old email thread from 3 years ago still saved in a hidden folder. The subject line read, "Terms of Agreement." He had never deleted it. Proof that every touch had once been calculated. The light turned green. Gavin pressed the gas. Caleb's hand rested on the console, close enough that their fingers almost brushed. For a split second, Gavin wondered what would happen if he just reached over and said the truth out loud. Instead, he kept driving, the wipers slapping rhythmically like a heartbeat counting down. Then the truck ahead swerved. Metal screamed. Glass exploded. The world flipped once, twice. Gavin's last clear thought before darkness swallowed him was Caleb's name. When the hospital lights stabbed through his eyelids, Gavin's first sensation was pain radiating from his ribs. Monitors beeped steadily. A nurse hovered, checking the 4. "Mr. Thompson, you're stable. Your partner is in surgery." Mr. Harrington took the worst of it. Partner. The word still felt borrowed. Gavin tried to sit up, but a doctor gently pressed him back. "Concussion, fractured collarbone, but you'll recover. We need to monitor you overnight." The doctor's voice softened. "You pulled him out of the wreck before the ambulance arrived. That kind of instinct, it saved his life." Gavin closed his eyes. Instinct? Or guilt? He couldn't tell anymore. The nurse left a tablet on the side table with Caleb's updates. Gavin stared at the screen until the letters blurred. 3 years of pretending, and now the only thing real was the fear clawing up his throat that Caleb might never wake up. He drifted in and out of sleep, fragments of memories playing like a film reel. He couldn't pause. The first time Caleb had smiled at him, really smiled, after a brutal board meeting. The weekend they spent in the Hamptons pretending for a client, walking on the beach while Gavin secretly counted the days until he could quit the charade. The night Caleb had asked, voice almost hesitant, "Do you ever feel like this is more than convenience?" Gavin had kissed him instead of answering. That kiss had felt different. Dangerous. Real. Morning light filtered through the blinds when the surgeon finally appeared. "Mr. Harrington is out of surgery. He's in a medically induced coma to reduce swelling. We expect him to wake within 48 hours. You can see him if you'd like." Gavin followed the nurse down the corridor, every step sending fresh pain through his shoulder. Caleb lay pale against white sheets, tubes snaking from his arms, a bandage covering the left side of his face. The man who commanded boardrooms with a single glance now looked fragile. Gavin pulled up a chair and took Caleb's hand without thinking. The skin was cool, but the pulse beneath it was steady. "I'm sorry," Gavin whispered to the quiet room. For all of it, he didn't know how long he sat there. Nurses came and went. His own phone, miraculously intact in his jacket pocket, vibrated with texts from friends and one from his mother back in Ohio. "Heard about the crash on the news. Is your boss okay? When are you coming home for Christmas this year?" Gavin deleted the message. His parents still believed he was the straight, ambitious son dating a powerful man for networking reasons. They had no idea their son had been lying to everyone, including himself, for years. By evening, the hospital quieted. Gavin scrolled through old photos on his phone, stopping at one from last summer. Caleb laughing at a rooftop party, arms slung casually around Gavin's shoulders. The caption Gavin had never posted read, "Best decision I ever made." He had typed it after a night when Caleb had opened up about his own lonely childhood, the pressure of being the only openly gay CEO in their industry, the fear that softness would be mistaken for weakness. Gavin had listened and felt the first crack in his armor. That was the night the pretending started to feel like drowning. A soft knock pulled him back. Marcus, Caleb's best friend and COO, stood in the doorway holding 2 coffees. "They said you refused to leave. Figured you could use this." Marcus handed over a cup and sank into the other chair. "Caleb's tough. He'll pull through. But damn, Gavin, you look like hell." Gavin managed a weak smile. "I'm fine. Just worried." Marcus studied him for a long moment. "You two have been solid for 3 years. Whatever's going on in that head of yours, he's going to need you when he wakes up. Don't disappear on him now." The words landed like stones. Marcus left after a while, but the warning stayed. Gavin leaned forward, resting his forehead against the edge of the bed. "Wake up, Caleb. Please. I don't know how to do this without the script anymore." The monitors continued their steady rhythm, the only answer in the room. Gavin woke to the sound of machines and the faint scent of antiseptic. His shoulder throbbed in time with his heartbeat. A different nurse checked Caleb's vitals and offered a sympathetic smile. "No change yet, but that's normal. The doctor says another 12 hours and we'll start reducing the sedation." She paused. "Family's been calling. Mr. Harrington's sister is flying in from Boston tomorrow." Gavin nodded, stomach twisting. He had met Elena once at a charity event. Polite, sharp, protective. She knew about the relationship, but nothing deeper. No one did. Gavin's own family remained blissfully ignorant in their small Ohio town, still sending Christmas cards addressed to Gavin and his successful friend. The lie had grown comfortable, like a second skin he could slip on for holidays and peel off in the safety of his Brooklyn apartment. He spent the morning pacing the hallway, avoiding the cafeteria where colleagues from Apex had started gathering. Word of the crash had spread fast. Whispers followed him. Such a devoted couple. Gavin risked everything to pull him out. The praise burned. Devoted. If they only knew the original contract still existed in his cloud drive. Dates scheduled, public appearances mapped, exit clauses neatly typed. Caleb had never seen that document. Gavin had kept it hidden like a guilty secret. By afternoon, the sedation began to lift. Caleb's fingers twitched first. Then his eyelids fluttered. Gavin was at his side in seconds, heart hammering. "Hey, easy. You're in the hospital. We were in an accident. You're okay now." Caleb's voice came out hoarse, barely above a whisper. "Gavin." His eyes focused slowly, confusion giving way to recognition. "What happened?" Gavin explained in short sentences. The truck, the flip, the rescue. Caleb listened, then reached up with his good hand to touch the bandage on his own cheek. "You pulled me out." "I did." Gavin's throat tightened. "Couldn't leave you there." A small, tired smile crossed Caleb's face, the same one that had once made Gavin forget the pretense for entire evenings. "Always knew you were the brave one." Caleb's eyes drifted shut again, but the grip on Gavin's hand stayed firm. The next hours blurred. Doctors ran tests. Caleb's sister Elena arrived, hugging Gavin tightly before disappearing into consultations. Marcus brought updates from the office. The board was understanding, projects were covered. Everyone treated Gavin like the hero. He smiled through it all, but inside the old email thread pulsed like a live wire in his pocket. That night, alone with Caleb while the older man slept naturally for the first time, Gavin opened his phone. He stared at the terms of agreement file. 3 years ago, he had been drowning in debt, terrified his conservative parents would discover he was gay and cut him off completely. Caleb had been the solution, powerful, discreet, offering a believable cover that paid the bills. Gavin had convinced himself it was temporary. Then Caleb started sharing pieces of himself, the loneliness of running a billion-dollar company while hiding how much he wanted something real. The way he looked at Gavin during quiet dinners like he was the only safe place in the world. Gavin had fallen. Hard. But admitting it now felt impossible. How do you tell the man you love that the foundation was built on a lie? Caleb stirred. "You're still here. Wouldn't be anywhere else." Gavin slid the phone away. Caleb studied him through half-lidded eyes. "Something's wrong. I can feel it. Talk to me, Gavin." The words lodged in Gavin's throat. Instead, he leaned down and pressed a gentle kiss to Caleb's forehead, the first time the gesture felt completely his own. Later. Rest now. Morning brought more visitors. Elena cornered Gavin in the hallway, her designer coat still dotted with rain. The doctors say Caleb will be discharged in a week if everything holds. He's already asking about the office. Typical. She smiled, but her eyes were serious. Look, I know you two keep things private, but he's different with you. Softer. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. He needs that right now. Gavin nodded, guilt twisting sharper. He excused himself and found the hospital chapel, an empty room with stained glass and wooden pews. Sitting alone, he finally let the tears come. 3 years of performing had trained him to hide everything. His sexuality from his parents, his growing love from Caleb, his fear from the world. Now the accident had stripped the stage away. He was raw, exposed, and terrified Caleb would hate him when the truth spilled. His phone buzzed again, his mother this time. Sweetheart, I saw the news. That poor man. Are you taking time off work? We worry about you in that big city. Gavin typed a quick reply about being fine and closed the app. The distance between Ohio and New York had always felt like a shield. Now it felt like another lie. Back in the room, Caleb was sitting up, color returning to his face. Elena says you haven't slept properly. Go home tonight. I'll be fine. I'm not leaving. Gavin pulled the chair closer. They talked about small things, the new marketing campaign, the neighbor's noisy dog, the book Caleb had been reading before the crash. Normal couple talk. Except nothing about them had ever been normal. As evening fell, Caleb grew quiet. That night before the truck hit, I was going to ask you something important. About us. About the future. He reached for Gavin's hand. I've been thinking for a while that maybe we don't need the pretense anymore. That what we have is real. Gavin froze. The room tilted. Caleb continued softly. I know how we started. I'm not blind, Gavin. But somewhere along the way I stopped caring about the why. I just cared about you. The confession hung between them like fragile glass. Gavin wanted to speak, to match the honesty, but the old email burned in his mind. Caleb, there's something A nurse interrupted with medication. The moment passed. Caleb squeezed his hand once more before drifting off. Gavin sat in the dark, the weight of 3 years pressing down. He had come to the hospital ready to protect the lie. Now the lie was crumbling, and he had no idea how to rebuild something honest from the pieces. Discharge day arrived faster than expected. Caleb moved carefully, ribs still taped, but his stride held the old authority. Gavin drove them home in a rental car, slower this time, every red light a reminder. Their apartment in Chelsea felt different, the same modern lines and floor-to-ceiling windows, but the air carried new tension. Caleb settled on the couch while Gavin made tea. You've been quiet since the hospital, Caleb observed. Talk to me. Whatever it is, we've survived worse. Gavin set the mug down. The moment had come. He pulled out his phone, opened the old file, and handed it over. 3 years ago I was drowning. Student loans, family who would never accept who I really am, a job I was about to lose. I saw an opportunity. You. The fake relationship. The agreement. I wrote every clause. I never planned to stay this long. I never planned to fall in love. Caleb read in silence. His face remained unreadable, the same mask he wore in boardrooms. When he finally looked up, his voice was quiet. You could have told me. At any point. I would have understood. I was scared you'd walk away. That I'd lose the only real thing I'd ever had. Gavin's voice cracked. And then I realized I wasn't pretending anymore. Somewhere between the galas and the quiet nights, I stopped acting. But I didn't know how to fix the beginning. Caleb set the phone aside. The silence stretched. I'm angry, he admitted finally. Not because you lied at first. Because you carried it alone for 3 years. I thought we were partners in every sense. He reached out, pulling Gavin down beside him. But I'm also grateful. You stayed. You pulled me from that wreck. That wasn't in the contract. They sat together as the city lights flickered on outside. Caleb's head rested against Gavin's shoulder. We start over. No scripts. No pretending. Just us, whatever that looks like now. Gavin closed his eyes, the first real peace he had felt in years settling in his chest. Just us. The weeks that followed were a careful dance. Caleb returned to the office part-time, leaning on Gavin during meetings, but never hiding the tenderness in his glances. Colleagues noticed the shift. Whispers turned to genuine smiles. At home they talked, really talked. Caleb shared stories of growing up with a father who tolerated his sexuality only if it stayed invisible. Gavin finally admitted the fear that had driven him to the original lie. Parents who still sent church pamphlets with every birthday card. One weekend they drove to a cabin upstate. No clients, no cameras. Just snow-dusted trees and a fireplace. Caleb cooked while Gavin read aloud from the book they had never finished before the crash. In the quiet after dinner, Caleb asked, "Do you want to tell your family? The real version?" Gavin stared into the flames. "I'm terrified, but I'm more terrified of living half a life." He looked at Caleb. "With you beside me, I think I can." They made the call together the next morning. Gavin's mother answered on speaker. The conversation was messy. Tears, long silences, questions. His father's voice cracked when he said, "We love you, son. We just need time." It wasn't perfect. It was real. And that was enough. Back in the city, new challenges waited. A board member made a veiled comment about distractions during a strategy session. Caleb shut it down with quiet steel. "My relationship has never affected performance. If anyone has a problem with that, the door is open." The room went silent. Gavin watched from the side, pride swelling. This was the man he had fallen for, not the cold boss, but the one who chose courage every day. Yet old doubts lingered in quiet moments. Gavin still woke, sometimes reaching for the old contract in his mind. Caleb noticed and would pull him close without words, reminding him with every steady heartbeat that they had chosen each other anew. Spring arrived in New York with sudden warmth. Gavin stood on the rooftop of their building, city sprawled below like a promise. Caleb joined him, 2 glasses of wine in hand. "1 year since the crash," he said softly. "Feels like a lifetime." Gavin took the glass. "Best accident I never wanted to repeat." They laughed, the sound easy now. Caleb set his glass down and turned Gavin to face him. "I have something for you." From his pocket, he produced a small velvet box. Inside rested a simple silver band engraved with their initials and the date of the crash. Not a contract, not a performance, just a choice. "Every day, if you'll have me." Gavin's eyes stung. "Yes. God, yes." They kissed under the open sky, the kind of kiss that needed no audience and no script. Later, walking hand in hand through the streets they had once pretended on, Gavin felt the last weight lift. The man beside him was no longer a boss or a cover. He was home. In the quiet of their apartment that night, Gavin deleted the old email thread for good. 3 years of pretending had led them here, not to ruin, but to truth. The accident had cracked everything open, and what grew from the fracture was stronger than either of them had imagined. Sometimes the universe forces honesty in the most dramatic ways. In this story, 2 men learned that love built on lies can still become love built on choice. The real courage wasn't in the rescue or the confession. It was in staying, in choosing each other again and again when the world offered easier exits. If you're carrying a secret that's weighing you down, remember, the crash that exposes everything might just be the beginning of something worth keeping. Don't wait for an accident to tell the truth. But if one comes, let it teach you how to live honestly afterward. That's the quiet lesson I carry from their journey.